Hello, and I hope you are doing well. This lecture is about control valve applications. There are few typical applications for which special care to be taken for selections. Many valve manufacturers have prepared specific application brochures that can give guidelines based on the total experience they collected from the different customers. Let us see the content. Few application categories we will discuss. We will see valves connected in parallel and in series, and what are the few problems that are with the control valve improper selections. First is the feed regulation, a pressurized control loop in which a valve is controlling the feed based on a control signal. The control signal can base on need of flow or to maintain pressure, temperature, particular flow level. This means that the valve requires continuous operation. Frequently, there are parallel valves with wide rangeabilities are required at startup or shutdown condition. At startup condition, the flow rate is low while inlet pressure is high due to the pump. Hence, pressure drop across the valve is very high, which requires a special train, probably anti-cavitation, to handle such process condition. At full load condition, the flow rate is high but pressure drop across the valve is low, due to which the required CV is very high. To meet both the condition of startup and full load, a good valve with wide rangeability is required. Few important points to be considered for such applications. First is the accuracy of control, rangeability of the valve and the failure mode. So, the output of this valve affects the downstream function of the process. If a steady flow rate is not maintained, then pressure, temperature or flow level can continuously keep changing, and thus the quality of the output can be affected. Second, when we talk about the rangeability of the valve, because the process must be controlled both at startup and shutdown and at full load condition, one of the way to handle this challenge is to use two parallel valves. One which will take care of the startup and shutdown condition, while the other will function at the full load condition. There are few valve manufacturers have designed a single valve with different valve characteristics by which startup, shutdown is managed and by almost a linear characteristic, and full load is maintained by using a equal percentage. The cage is designed in such a manner that the bottom part can handle cavitation while the upper part of the cage can handle standard flow with low pressure drop. Third is the failure mode. Fail-safe condition is considered as fail last for such application. It means any actuator can be used, either pneumatic, electrical or even hydraulic. However, in nuclear power plant it should be fail close to eliminate uncontrolled leakage path, while the auxiliary feed water system takes control. Next is the continuous letdown valve. Here, a valve is installed between two large reservoirs with different pressure, due to which constant pressure drop is there in the valve and the flow control is stabilized by the valve position. We have to select a linear trim, except low feed rates are also required by the process. Off-load operating conditions are very important in order to select a proper functioning valve. Example of this is the upstream pressure control for letdown services are chemical reactor vessels, a gas reservoir or a reservoir level control. For downstream pressure control, there are steam to auxiliary turbine, process reactor, distribution system for multiple burners, etc. If the control variable is flow instead of pressure, then burner control valves, spraying or mixing valves are a typical application where such valves are used. Next, important points that we need to consider for continuous letdown valves are accuracy of control and failure mode. What do you mean by accuracy? It is the most important function. It has to maintain a constant pressure flow or a temperature which is essential to the process product quality. A continuous waving output may have short and long term damaging on the equipment. Second, the failure mode, normally fail last is considered, so the system is not disturbed. However, the engineer may prefer to have fail close condition, so the operator is alarmed regarding the valve failure. Next is the intermediate letdown. The installation is similar to continuous letdown. The difference is the time of operation or duty cycle of a valve. It must provide class 5 or class 6 shut off. Any leakage through this valve means loss of product process. It means that there is an issue with the product itself. They function like a bypass valve, and in some cases they can work as a pressure relief valve too. The valves are designed to bypass the entire process or a part of the process during startup, shutdown or emergency condition. What are the important points which we need to consider in this case is the stroke speed and the shut off. Usually this valve, when acted in a safety function, the speed must be within 1 to 5 seconds to close, because when we are considering function, it is to protect the personnel or equipment or process output. The valve shall be open to relieve the pressure from over pressurized upstream reservoir. So you need, next is the shut off, which is a key and critical function of the valve. Any loss of fluid shall reduce the process efficiency. The minimum shut off requirement is class 5. However, class 6 can also be provided for reliable long-term valve operation. Many times the valve manufacturer designs the valve where fluid pressure will assist the closing member to maintain a tight sealing and thereby achieving a tight shut off. Typical example we can say is the turbine bypass valve. This one is installed to bypass steam at startup condition or emergency condition. The most important attributes are shut off, control and opening speed. Another example which we can consider is a turbine drive of a synthetic gas compressor in ammonia plant. The primary purpose is not to protect the turbine, but to assure high pressure steam is available to the downstream reformer in case the gas compressor trip. Is the recirculation valve. In this valve, pressurized fluid is reduced and returned to the reservoir with low pressure, and the valve experiences high pressure drop, due to which cavitation and a noise level are observed. This valve is closed at full load condition with tight shut off requirement. If, for example, if shut off is not maintained, the fluid is recirculated for use by the process at increased energy expense. There could be cases where recirculation losses are so high that the total output of the system is measurably reduced. Do note that this valve will see the high pressure drop in the entire plant when we bypass the main pump. The cost of fluid leakage through this valve may exceed the purchase price of valve many times over. Loss in reduced plant capacity, unavailable load and the increasing pumping power requires to pressurize the fluid. It is not an application where the engineer should compromise on valve selection and must select a solution for long-term seat integrity to assure leakage-free operation. The points to be considered for this one is special trim. Since the valve will experience either cavitation or noise, as we discussed, tight shut off requirement is also there, which if not followed might lose some considerable pumping power. Failure mode will be fail open, and the stroke speed will be within 2 to 5 seconds for compressible fluid and up to 25 for incompressible fluid. Now let us see why the valves are installed in parallel. There could be 3 reasons. First is redundancy, second is balance in process, and third is rangeability. First, in case if there is any problem developed with the primary valve and the process must be kept online, then redundancy is required. The reason is the value of output product or high cost of a shutdown. One example we can say is the coal gasification, where erosive fluid causes the internal to wear out quickly. Hence, redundancy valve is a must. Another example we can consider in a nuclear industry, where decay heat must be removed before the reactor core if the reactor tripped. Second is balance in process equipment. It could be equaling, balancing temperature or chemical concentration, mixing the flow or splitting the flow as required. Here also we can take an example of, say, thermal balancing of heat transfer, so that flow must pass through both the tube to avoid the overheating. Hence, for fine controlling, one valve will with coarse resolution and the other is with fine resolution is used, so that the balance is maintained in the process equipment. Third is the rangeability. This we have already discussed in detail, that one end there is a startup condition and the full load condition. So there is a possibility that you will require 2 valves. One will take care of the startup condition and the other one will be taking care of the full load condition. Next, when the valves are installed in series, Here there could be two reasons. One, to limit the pressure drop, and for distribution systems. Let us consider a scenario where the pressure drop across the valve is very high. We can use one valve with special trim technology to reduce the pressure drop, or alternatively we can split and we can use the two valves where the pressure drop is splitted amongst them, and the trim, we can have a standard trim that can be used, and this could be an intermediate solution for that. Also, if you consider that spares or maintenance cost of a special trim is very expensive, lead time is very high, and there could be monopoly for some special design for the trim, due to which they are charging premium. So in that case you can have two valves and you divide the pressure between the two. When we consider two valves with which standard designs there is a limitation of pressure drop in each valve, one of the thumb rule is 2/3 of the pressure drop should be considered for sizing the first valve and the remaining for second valve. Next is the distribution system, where the first one is used for pressure reducing while the second is used for controlling the gas flow of the burner. Let us see few frequently problems if you select a wrong valve. First is controlling pressure drop. As we know that the control valve objectives is to convert the energy by reducing the fluid pressure, handle deviation from ideal operations, handle the influences of unavoidable process change, and permit the smooth transition from one load to another. However, to achieve this objective, there must be some pressure drop across the valve. Guideline says that at least 10% of the system pressure drop should be available across a control valve to provide some control. Hence, the problem is that if there is no pressure drop available, we cannot use the control valve to control the flow. Second is the excessive fluid velocity. The problem of erosion, noise, cavitation, flow instability can be eliminated by considering the flow of fluid velocity. Due to high velocity, there can be vibration which can cause excessive wear, breaking part, unscrewing bolt, and noise. Suppose if the noise level exceeds 110 dBA, then the shock waves can also break the pipe. Due to cavitation and flashing, rapid corrosion can also occur. The outlet velocity must be limited as per this table. We have to follow the table and it has to be within this limit. Next is the calibration of a control valve. To achieve full seat load, to maintain tight shutoff when the valve is closed, require the calibration to be done perfectly. Many times it happens that the plug is just positioned at the seat instead of assuring that the closing member is fully loaded against the seat. Hence, if the calibration is not done properly, there could be a chance that the valve will leak. The calibration can be done with the positioner or without the positioner. Next, operating the plug close to its seat. Consider the valve travel of 5 to 10% where the flow path is a small opening between the plug and the seat. In such condition, the seat deteriorates due to extreme high velocity, resulting in erosion, noise, vibration, etc. To eliminate this problem, minimum controllable flow must be defined in the process datasheet and value must be selected with a particular rangeability. One of the solution to avoid this problem is to use a snap acting relay which changes the positional signal when the valve reach at such preset position. The signal will cause the valve to fully close and apply the full seating load. Next is pour assembly. This is critical when the valve manufacturer assembly instruction must be followed to assure that the trim parts are aligned and calibrated properly. The assembly of the valve might seem quite straightforward. However, the technician may not be aware of the special design features, including to assure a good functioning of the valve. The alignment of part is particularly critical in many applications. If it is not maintained within the tolerances, then significant leakage can occur. Also, due to poor alignment, the stem may get scratches and the packing will have reduced life. Thereby, leakage may come from the stuffing box. When reassembly is done, do not use the old seals or gaskets or seals, because the gasket may not work to provide you the exact sealability, and the valve may fail in few days or months. Next is the debris and flushing. Whenever we are considering a new construction or a major repair, there is always debris generated by the process of cutting, machining, grinding, welding, or installation. It is critical that the system must be flushed and the internals of the valve must be protected by removing the debris or by providing upstream strainer during initial operation to minimize damage caused by it. In the valve design, the internals have close tolerances, So imagine if there is small debris that goes between the plug and the cage, it will scratch the surface and we will have a leakage path. It may not be a straight right away, however over a period of time it will start. Hence, proper planning need to be done to make sure that the flushing is done properly and there is no debris inside the valve. So, we come to end of this training part. Let us summarize quickly what we have discussed in this lecture. We have discussed that some typical applications of the control valve where we need to take special care during the selection of the valve. Those applications were feed regulation, continuous letdown, intermediate letdown, and recirculation. We also discussed applications where valves are installed in parallel or in series, and we have seen a few problems in control valves such as controlling pressure drop or excessive velocity, calibration, operating the valve close to its seat, and poor assembly, and debris and flushing. Thank you.